say a ball El Clasico, the biggest fixture, Nipado Dona no ebe fulu. A match a Nipado Dona beshe. So, my mention same friend free Real Madrid ne Barcelona. Since 1902, Real Madrid ne Barcelona ball move FS game. Competitive games are these two clubs about a 261. Now, out of that 261 competitive games between Real Madrid and Barcelona, Madrid they win him 105, and Barcelona they win him 104, and they move 52 about draw. So a chair say, from our first day, almost shall say, almost compete your mono. Competitive games, so much are very close and tight. Again, say we share the current form and I say the current situation of both clubs. You share La Liga na sia. After 9 games, La Liga no. Real Madrid edi kan wa winning 8 games. We lose baako. We share 20 goals, a concede 9. 24 points. Barcelona etosu mienu. Ono so after the 9 games no, we team winning 7. We draw 1, lose 1. I share 24 goals, a concede 10. And to us be checking omu nyina about current situation. Obia points are accumulating obia performance our La Liga na. Esa you close until you game back again. Unti means take o neck out say. Real Madrid modern one was through bebre SN Barcelona na say Barcelona modern one was through bebre SN Real Madrid. Gab na that two clubs no as it stands now no and so that any wider a very close between these two clubs. Until you expect a tough match from Real Madrid than Barcelona. But I can personally game we and Casano Obiawo advantage baako. Barcelona have that psychological edge over Real Madrid as it stands now. Barcelona have that psychological edge over Real Madrid. And Real Madrid forces so have that energy management and then physical edge, you know. And to be our edge, kakra and as advantage kakra one. Say 2 clubs and I say nipa mienu eku. Na previously baako taibo ne yonko pa. Say almost say besie biema eya na mentally no. The taibo ne yonko no wa adwimi say oye obi a me taibo no emfa ho ni situation a me wo no. So the reason why I make us Barcelona what that psychological edge ni say. So we check omo last 4 games Barcelona abu Real Madrid sa. Enti Real Madrid for area game ni Barcelona for area game ni no. Advantage baako Barcelona won here say area game no ni say last season or dominating Real Madrid. Into that psychological edge, I advantage at Barcelona. Real Madrid force him say, for 2 teams currently. Now almost show Biano a physical picker. Real Madrid also knowing Barcelona injury list. Real Madrid 4 players to be pra by Barcelona the end also. We are talking about Clasico Barcelona Elusu omo first choice goalkeeper Juan Garcia, Olusu Gavi, Olusu Lewandowski, Olusu Dani Olmo, Olusu Rafinha. On Pokran obi enim so betima ba na so mbo. Na same players in Pokran returning from injury no. Omunyan reach omo physical peak. And Real Madrid for no was sa gidie ne say in terms of say ye manage sa physical aspect of the game no omo osoro. And to omo nyina no edge and as advantage baako going into this game e betima play advantage any am both sides. By kid obi a watch Clasico na nse no. Eya ananyoma be brain se sawo Clasico ni mo. Enti Clasico na nse wo hwa. Eye details nkiti bi. Ana eya na esesa game no. Die edikan. Wa wo be stay discipline wo game ni. Enti se wo tie Jude Bellingham wo bo ni interview no tie di okan ni ya. Clasico na nse ya bo me use recent one last season die ya. Eye club a wo be stay discipline wo game ni. Both tactical discipline and self discipline. A play advantage kesiye at the mouth. Wa ube take moment, opportunity neba ube take advantage, ube utilize some moment, no. A play advantage at the mouth. And coach ube to me I making sure say ube adapted to game situation. Game ne how we see kon ube to manage now so do we rag game ni. Ana individual brilliance. And then your man and say Clasico ye di winning. Until last season in Pokra Barcelona dominated Real Madrid. Almost said Real Madrid, not just Real Madrid for Mbobo. Not just Real Madrid for creative chances. Yebo Clasico na equal to a time Barcelona to me pick na drop na Real Madrid for be take advantage. Until you want to take a moment, individual brilliance. Coach Albert must make sure say, obe adapted to game situation no, on a mostly come out. Me nyɛ sure say nyame ado match na best sa. Yes, I know we are near best akwa. It is up to 2 clubs and they say, omo ebe hu kwan befa so ewura game nim back in ye ewura game nim ankasa proper Barcelona this season and I say if it is a Hansi Flick ebefa abobuku no obi a watch Barcelona ne Hansi Flick enye news I just won't hwe Barcelona opese o attack o control game no o possess game no opese o dictating the tempo of the game and ne Hansi Flick up attacking football na ye control the style of play no it means sa playing against Real Madrid enye ne ana Barcelona ekohia Real Madrid da Barcelona say obebo defensive game dabi ye be hu Barcelona obe try say obe open up obe kura ball ne mo obe attack Real Madrid bobuku no ene Hansi Flick ne style of play those on tina touchline e fa ma Barcelona okọ Real Madrid so a everything say Alonso be fa bobuku no or try say obe say Real Madrid for style of play ne kakra enti Alonso e be fa Real Madrid no Real Madrid for style of play say omo pe attacking football yem building from a ho yem kura ball ne kakra near making sure say you be control game no without pressure near fire star passing network no and fan creating chances no so compare Real Madrid last season and Real Madrid this season I share season as no who said the style of Real Madrid no atinya sesa kakra that's the reason why La Liga after 9 games ayabono Barcelona omo average possession is 70.7% 70.7% then over Real Madrid the average possession is 63.8. When you compare last season, I bought Real Madrid ball in the first 9 games, no, now on average 63.8% in terms of possession. But Alonso, the first 9 games of La Liga, no, we average 69.8% of ball possession. So a chance say a chance for you the chance say, a 2 coaches are almost pe ball ni kura, almost attacking game, almost nyina pe control. So for once, you better witness 2 clubs are, or be able to try so the ball better form. A pass ball and so be making sure say or the passes network you know able create chances because I 2 coaches naturally say on person mo ball. But what check Barcelona this season Barcelona matches on my drop points. Barcelona matches on my struggle no against Vallecano, against Sevilla, against PSG. These are classic examples I bet me use. Teams on mota Barcelona again pano. Teams are Barcelona jeba omo press Barcelona pan ye intensity no wasro omo ye very aggressive with omo press omo tie Barcelona this season teams are time bia no omo ma Barcelona enya sa traditional central control omo ha Barcelona and teams are omo tie beat Barcelona omo highlight defense no omo tie eshe Barcelona etimi ha Barcelona again so ekwan Barcelona fa so e consider lose games no enne kwan ye say ye hwese Real Madrid fo betima ya na. So the first question abebusa ahoni ye say me kwahwe Barcelona ni PSG, Barcelona ni Vallecano, Barcelona ene Sevilla. Ekwan ya Sevilla fa so share Barcelona. Ekwan ya PSG fa so tete Barcelona. Ekwan ya Vallecano fa so tete Barcelona no. Real Madrid fo betima ye sa bi. That's the first question. And say teams omo type press Barcelona pana ya na Barcelona struggle because Barcelona epic time on the ball no a pass it. So busa won say Alonso ne Real Madrid betima press higher na on betima ye counter pressing. The answer is yes. Because last season under Carlo Ancelotti, na Carlo Ancelotti ka say omo press higher, omo nye coordinated. Because if you name bad pressure press na say obi am back up the press. But Alonso be fa Real Madrid boboko no kakra wa demonstrate a try na say anytime be a Vinicius Junior, Mbappe, and Mastantuano, sa 3 players ne be press na say e wo position half no. You say Real Madrid form folders. Say eye Jude Bellingham, eye Tchouameni, eye Ada Goulet. Omo nyina say push ko mani. Etimi ko back up the press. It got to a time ni fullbacks ni pokret mi ko mani e ko back up the press. So ye share season na say adia ba ko Real Madrid for timi ye ni ye pa no e omo high press and a counter pressing. As say no omo improve in terms of calculation in their pressing and how omo ye coordinated in their pressing. That's the reason why I can. Baby ayabo La Liga ne do no o petima. When we need boss kesiye e wo position final third Real Madrid. Real Madrid that yes last season na omo nim press no. By this season and Alonso, baby ayabo La Liga matches ne do no. Real Madrid na yebo boku a when we need possession e wo position final third. Every single game bia no or average 5.2 e wo position third. There is no single club e wo La Liga. See you winning ball position third no onim yes Real Madrid as it stands now. So Alonso ne Real Madrid that demonstrated say on betima press high which you expect say on betima use Sadio nyame ado mechina against Barcelona boboku. Last season adia ba kwa Barcelona the tete Real Madrid pan was on offside trap. na Real Madrid for any hono omo ntimi beat Barcelona for no offside trap no say Barcelona echo high line time bia na Mbappe offside e go to a time na Real Madrid mpokra wo Bernabeu no omo sere Mbappe say on time any runs no it is a ukosia Barcelona ke opa kosoro ba form Barcelona for say omo nsesa omo high line no ya obia ka de also okay bia no Barcelona for say men nsesa so me you pretty sure say e kosoro ba form e kire so pass wa Barcelona be bo omo high line no so how a Real Madrid for be first way beat high line no e dey create chances e dey shegu esa be very important so the big question is Madrid wait my yana and Barcelona for e bo omo high line na omo right back mostly eye Kunde omo left back eye Baudi no omo mbiem omo yi back close ababron be ka center backs na ho enti Barcelona in their high line eye anom very narrow leaving a lot of spaces for wide area enti opponent bi o ma she Barcelona bi o beat Barcelona for high line no sa diagonal pass ne covering so a then ye benya obi obe run from deep and the ball ne akwakotum this time around Mbappe bet ma time ne runs na and came in o ka say one player about La Liga say oya ade running from deep no beat offside trap abrante fe ne say Mbappe ye share La Liga na se no Mbappe running from deep oye 20 kilometers per 10 seconds beyond running from deep and otimi nya 13 shots until last season Mbappe running from deeper na oye offside no this time around and Alonso no o ma kire ne sadi na enenra mpokra be ye ho story wa ha say until every 10 seconds biano abrante ne running 20 kilometers from deep I so beat high line no so Real Madrid for betima target sadi no it's up to Barcelona boboko ni say omo form omo high line na omo make sure say they will be on a straight line time you betima make sure say Real Madrid for be fall for omo outside trap no by say Mbappe timi improve on that aspect Madrid betima take sa advantage no Barcelona se Frank papa friend say Hansi Flick ne ball ni nyina betima ko yi a ejina the best filter Barcelona is yakan na Pedri abrante friend say Frankie de Jong so a ehon na Barcelona will be at their elements because our two players na dream no mo de ball no you will feel midfielders omo wiase a in terms of midfield play omo complement each other very well it is a Barcelona is yakan na Frankie de Jong na operate as a deep sitting midfielder na Pedri na operate as the central midfielder be control game na Frankie de Jong na beje ball ni dey free ho now I try say obe connected the midfielders and forward line players no Pedri mum and a beje ball na control no wetimi progressive ball no I make sure say forward line players never running into spaces no ma connect our players no it is our two players ni very key and ma Barcelona nyame ado metina say Barcelona be wini ana so mu wini and no kosia Pedri ne Frankie de Jong na two players akin ye more time ni space Frankie de Jong ni Pedri say omu usia kan na omu space omu time a and now say oma dream mu do akwesi bro ni beka say omu football IQ no wasro no omu time ni space a omu be dream ama o pass bi a yem becho so ade ba ko e ba Real Madrid ni say e was a time bia no omu close down these two players ye omu time and it is about check omu game against PSG omu game against Vallecano omu game against Sevilla anytime bia midfielders ne beji ball ni bia no quickly no ma close them because the moment Abema Pedri time and space or my Frankie de Jong time and space no or dream a pass or the Bema no or dream one won't here. These are midfielders are on technical ability in terms of football IQ no also. So Real Madrid for say here numbers in the midfield play. Some Madrid for me yes idea na Barcelona for make create chances. Untimi ni idea in free. Say Real Madrid because Barcelona say Barcelona and create chances. Barcelona definitely nyame ado match no make create chances. Be be Real Madrid for defense in ebesi. By how a Real Madrid for ever avoid the errors because when Barcelona kosia or be attack or be create chances no how will be stay calm will be patient in terms of defending and won't create errors leading to goals no key at the Real Madrid when in your for Real Madrid for be here will give him say on person who beat team my friend say Barcelona Real Madrid on the other side weakness Madrid team no enya complete sir on weakness bebre Barcelona bet my exploit obi apon kwotwa Real Madrid matches omu concede teams are almost Real Madrid omu team take chances for against Real Madrid no teams omu exploit Real Madrid fullbacks no Madrid for attack here omu commit a lot of players up front so no omu last line of defense no omu isolated the moment omu isolated no omu lose pass ba ko pe o the ball ni to omachi Obeha Real Madrid boboku no. And in this case, Barcelona so 2 players are in terms of size spaces, no, Rashford on the left side, Lamine Yamal on the right side. And the time Biano, Barcelona be decided so Obama Lamine Yamal and Marcus Rashford at a trap. And it's a Real Madrid 4 committee on echo many. Now Real Madrid 4 last line of defense I isolated that. Try say winning board. Now send the ball back up say locate Rashford and Lamine Yamal. These are players running with the ball and without the ball. Dangerous. A bit more play advantage for Real Madrid. And teams of Real Madrid now, use idea can say the widespread attacking ship. And the game weekend, Nami Adumetina. How are Barcelona rings or no? A very effective way to determine the game. Barcelona rings or no? And a very 2 players on the Marcus Rashford, then Lamine Yamal. Busa won say the last season. Yababo classic kwa wie bia no. Na Lamine Yamal na Abrante fence Rafinha ho ayehu game nim. Because Real Madrid for weakness kese pa no teams so use widespread attacking shape. Goals so considering na no efisa area ho. Because right back Alvaro Abrante fence Fede Valverde na babo right back no. Left back Alvaro Carreras. Alonso pese nyina involving in attack. Involve here. Real Madrid any idea can say the fill in row. Enti anka yade sa Alvaro Carreras se konanim. Fedi konanim a who expect me for the sense on be Felix row no am defensive cover. Ebi ni ho. Twamen ntimi nya sa ade no. Twamen say otimi obstructive work no. But in terms of the fill in row, eya abusa ho say Kabaha ebo right back. Na Fedi Valverde ebo midfielder Kabaha konanim a twakwan a Fedi Valverde efa so koye the fill in row on the right side. Say na ye likely say Fedi Valverde baba right back no. Why na be the fill in row? And a one advantage Edema Lamine Yamal and Marcus Rashford. And these are 2 dangerous players. And a game back, to be honest with you, Nyama bebre ensesa. Why and be discipline? Why and be taking moments? Coach Ben will be more adapted to game situation and individual brilliance. Obi ebehwe Mbappe, ye behwe Vinicius Junior, ye ba behwe Jude Bellingham, Ada Guillermo, sa players will be to change game ne dia Madrid. Say na Rafinha ni ho, Lewandowski ni ho no, Rashford and you know what home, and we are doing individual brilliance no obetting the Barcelona. Lamine Yamal, Wakasa Bebre was arguing with him, and he be so, or Jebona Madrid for no, Ebebuno, Obetimas Sagim the Barcelona na. And these are elements are a game with me Betimas Sagim no. By King. Say, oh, yeah, oh, can no cry, yes, I'm here Real Madrid ni. Born now you see, able to see him Prempriano. Oh, consider factors now together. Considering Barcelona injuries in the San Yomani Nana. And my Real Madrid for that advantage ne kakra ahead of Barcelona by El Clasico. How I'll be game no I say anyhow I'll be game ne be determined by assistance now. Real Madrid for no that slim advantage ahead of Barcelona Boboko no. Chelsea airbo Sunderland. Chelsea fans ne niaje because after so lose against Brighton. Chelsea last 4 games Benfica playing against Liverpool, playing against Nottingham Forest, then Ajax. Chelsea winning nina. And on the last 4 games, we winning in Nano, or met me 10 goals, Abraham consider 2. And so 10 goals, no, 8 different players. And I said, yeah, Chelsea. And Chelsea currently, Chelsea Boboko no independent on just 1 player. Say on no kind of goals. And Tim that need that confidence. They say playing against a team, my friend says Sunderland no. Chelsea be win this game no. But I want me underrated Sunderland Boboko no. Ken yeka and the Sunderland at 7th on the league log. And when you're bad at all. And the team or that 7th on the league log, looking at the resources, materials, the crano, now or that 7th on the league log, we at Chelsea, I want to mean con underrated. Team a friend say, yes, Sunderland Boboko. Sunderland are one in a king. Omo best city, and that's 1 person bobo no more half. Omo bobo no more half. Normal locate your midfielders, not send the long balls, Eddie call left, Eddie call right. And players omo tie send this long balls no. Noah, Anna Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka ni Noah, every Sunderland game ni ma. Wakele Sunderland team no. Enti ye game back wa me expect say Chelsea ebe control me for ni ye. Na enti ma Granit Xhaka and Abrante friend say Noah and dominating send this long balls no. And fan kwa ni mo me expect Chelsea say playing against Sunderland omo the south form na nkasa ebe wim. Manchester and Brighton Old Trafford. Recently Brighton have Manchester power. In their last 5 games, Brighton are winning 4, Manchester winning 1. And can you name the funny aspect of this games no? Manchester above few Old Trafford. But the last 3 games are also Old Trafford between Manchester and Brighton. Brighton are sending in Old Trafford. And to Brighton have Manchester Manchester United power. And what check your league log now. Manchester United ɛwɔ 13 points, Brighton ɛwɔ 12 points. Just 1 point and separate omo. And to check omo nyina no, omo performance no almost the same. Pa. Obi answer than twini yonku saa kese saa. And Manchester United last 2 games were winning. Brighton the last 3 games ontimi lose ye. And to be a rag game nima as obi a form no di rem no But can watch Brighton team na. Nyoma miensa ana hu omo game nim. Nyoma miensa hu Brighton game no. Flexibility, intensity and a quick transition. And nyoma miensa obi hu game nim. Do omo ye na say. Omo je ball na. Omo right back, omo left back, Matt and a Fed. Omo join it, omo wingers ni Diego Gomez and a Minte. Sa 4 players we no make sure say ombe overload. Na a creative spaces e dey am make for the some year runners no just to exploit that pocket of spaces. No mo dia home opponent. Any dey Brighton for ne yet. By some Manchester United for any abre. Na Manchester United Ruben Amorim and the players ne person almost say winning the trust of Manchester United supporters are. What me as Sunderland. What could Liverpool chroma kwa playing against Brighton mentality approach and what then now the boss our games now dunya assign dead points no. The same thing and I'm expecting from Manchester United. Manchester United drum against Liverpool against Sunderland. Manchester United able to make good results playing against Brighton. Me dem anu see ma me Liverpool ne Brentford game no. Nyoma nkoyi in former Liverpool recently until say UEFA Champions League omo Germany eko win 5-1. Brentford nankasa ken nyoma nkoyi in former omo sa after so omo ton omo key players no. By omo game ni simple. A counter long balls. And my catch are and sound. The major problem of Liverpool who consider goals no. The spaces in between on the defensive lines no. Wide. And so who share team of long balls ne counter. Obey utilizes such spaces in between the lines no. And to the moment on long balls no. Long balls ne kope damn guard wo dango atara wo on betuma running a for defense ne so. Classic example. Liverpool for first game omu win here against Bournemouth. Shantuan semenyo goals or share. Don't say Liverpool win you by great spaces. On Frankfurt, UEFA Champions League, Frankfurt for goal no the space. And there was a Liverpool for close space. That's the only thing that was a Liverpool team here. So much me close spaces now. Liverpool beat me the needed victory no movie here.
Kwame, Jena. You know what's the Kwame? What's up? Na mama address is doing from Kwame.
Camera say na mamichia awusi. I will do crown of friend. Maybe I will be a mamicha, no any city gym center guys in mamicha. Na mamisha say for the classical game no na Ken. Nyamia dumwa Sunday the 26th of October. Exactly 1 year. And Barca share Madrid 4-0. Na me assure say the arguments and the conversation that Enye Carlo Ancelotti Real Madrid, I understand. But if you do a careful analysis, there are traces be or what Madrid would have to solve and some game no mabo. Ken, sa game no 4-0 no. Only say first half na a goalless draw. It was goalless draw. Before that game, Obi Susu said Barcelona, Kunde, Pau Kubasi, Inigo Martinez, ebetimi a handle Vinicius Junior, Eddie Kylian Mbappe, pace na not obody board. But in the first half alone, Kylian Mbappe enya 6 offsides. Offside Makuma 6. Second half for the 2 can we see a ball game ni we no. Then Mbappe kwa as individual or no kwa yes 8 offsides. And they had team you know. Second half, Madrid team collapsed. In the first half, Madrid had its moments. Almost say me Vinicius Junior, I do remember on the 21st minute, a catching be on the goalkeeper. Bobo the same. Me can you see to say in the Clasico, obianya the moment. Games na Madrid elusuning in ano. There are lots of moments. Madrid, if they had taken a conversation, the best. Now, Ken, Barcelona team, you know, over their last 4-5 games, Adia yenim sa Barcelona team ye pa no eba from. And this Hans Flick acknowledged the fact say team no defensively omo issues. Yes, Barcelona had their power offsides. Omo teams any offsides power. Yes, it is true. That is for a fact. That was last season. But I feel assassin teams here Barcelona say offsides pass teams be offsides against Barcelona. Ever from PAG 90 minutes 2 offsides per. And I know against Sevilla 2, Girona 2. In all these games, Girona were creating chances. Paris Saint-Germain were creating chances. Sevilla creating chances. Against Paris Saint-Germain, PAG creating 5 big chances. And not just a normal chance. Big chances 5. Against PAG. Barcelona versus PAG. Okay. Barcelona versus Sevilla. Sevilla created 4 big chances. Sevilla share 4 nina. Barcelona versus Girona. Girona created 3 big chances. Almost share bako. It's now teams are creating big chances against Barcelona. Teams are opening up Barcelona's offsides. So first question before we go into the game, they say Barcelona beats me for they are creating Real Madrid in your chances na. Because you allowed chances against Paris Saint-Germain, you got punished. You allowed 4 big chances against Sevilla. Sevilla scored all of them. You allowed big chances against Girona. Girona nyemu bako pe no say. It is only a big chance na the man Kylian Mbappe. Conversation e be kwa saying. Saudi man Vinicius Junior e be kwa saying. Saudi man Jude Bellingham e be kwa saying. So Barcelona will need to guard against this. Barcelona, yes, sir. Let's have a conversation about that. Because they say, no, it is quite obvious to say, former Kylian Mbappe what last season, and this season, so season way, or ball shots bebre, or BT offsides bebre, or running to spaces bebre, what sell a leg ganasi bebre. It's how you handled Kylian Mbappe last season shouldn't be the same. Let me give you one example. Make a 4-0 no. Mbappe inquire 8 offsides. Can win the last 3 games against Barcelona? Why just 3? Average 1 offside per game. Let's just say how to beat Barcelona's high line. Because first game 8 offsides. We are so vilified. You fire no power. He learned his lessons. Now on your sabu. It's say no, we are Barcelona. What are you going to do? Ken, dear Tennessee. First of all, me not sure. Say Hansi, Ebersis a highline in their even a mid block. Sound of a money because I am part of the game. Now, highline no. Debia make us in the diane. How the front line will also press. So the high line is not the problem. The problem is the front line. TMA. High line or no. They are starting the press. There's a front line. No. So front line na anye juma. Back line the same esu enim faso. And as a high line esu nim faso. See, I to say ukuta phone. Phone ye kuta me. Kid. The ye pay a highline. I don't know for name. Name sa cover no. I say phone cover no. I don't know front line. I don't know protecting the high line. It is a front no enye juma cover ni nye juma. Phone no top for moi. Utiate. It is most times our concentration is on the high line. But the bigger problem is that front line ankasa send you miss press last season no enter sabio it's debiano it makes the back four vulnerable why we any make someone answer but last year the energy at which I have finya Lewandowski Lamine Yamal, no more fast so a person. Last season, open team one, a winning possession power opponents half. Barcelona were number 1. They created and scored so many goals from pressing teams and getting the ball. It's a one more occasionally. Now opponents creating chances via pass on the ball, and they are not offsides. A bim, and to the be a chance no goalkeeper save, and to the be a Barcelona near show. But this time around, say Hafinha, sa personal, we pra only hope Rashford and a Afi Orbo, he's still learning. And center forward one, Lewandowski, we pra in and out. Say for Anton is here, Nyame and Thomas, or Bebo Boni Bia, or no so on your fully fit. Lamine Yamal, he is having groin injury, or bad than one ton, say Bassa son of one ton. But I wanted to say, and can you make with their pressing bebre? It's first of all, there as a weakness, Kaka, when you were, and don't see any other problem, no question highline one. It's Sebastian, yes, yeah. That is where the problem will come. Because I feel say last year, the man Real Madrid for front line no brepa na entire offsides they say they did not have good passes. Chouameni, Freddy Valverde, Jude Bellingham, omunya good passes of the ball. It's either they are hitting the ball fast, they are overhitting, they are underhitting, or they are not passing the ball well, or they are not reading the game well. But I feel me who passes our Real Madrid team anymore. Ada gula ni passe obebo boni bi. Say Sakamavinga beboa enye bad. Did house no direct no suma passer. That is also a very very good passer. So I am very careful say any Barcelona should do their pressing game well. If they don't do that, they have a problem. Dear Tosubiu, let's flip the coin and shadi. Last season, Real Madrid, Adebako no munimi ye pa ne say opponents alpha board all build it up. Yes, that's a game of first 15 minutes. Vinicius Junior, Kylian Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, almost pressing giddy. Essence and almost pressing your coordinated. First 15 minutes, no more Bruno Wufu no mejai. It's about say teams are building up easy against them. Can't move on to the next one. I'll come back to this. It's Yansha Madrid for so. Acquire so press this time around. Remember 2 examples. This is Real Madrid versus Marseille. Unlike last season, not averagely, Madrid for highline press 3.8. Kenny, season where winning say jump from 3.8 equal 5.2. Meaning said they are winning balls. Our opponents half a power. So this is how they start their press. Maybe I can't so much show. Freddy Valverde normally Nancy Otejina right back no. Onu ne barbe press opponents left back. It's in this case. Say Barcelona for a passing ball from the back. Alejandro Balde no possibly a Freddy Valverde the barbe back no. After watch Kylian Mbappe and whoever plays as the number 10 shall also roll on Mobabe. Also ever pressing the 2 center backs. Let's say Osha picture where every single player Real Madrid air command to man. Last season it wasn't like that. It's the team Real Madrid Barcelona team na Ocean last season no. And different because this season they are doing more pressing unlike last season. This is one example. But maybe on the next example. And now Real Madrid versus Juventus. Ken Shadie, Sheferi Vavad your ball to then Oye or Presse Cambiaso was playing as the left back. My catcher said, games na match in Real Madrid's pressing, the right back is responsible for opponents and left back in terms of their pressing. We are expecting that Freddy Valverde will always jump from the position to man-mark Alejandro Balde when Barcelona are doing the build-up. After so expect to say either Jude Bellingham or Kylian Mbappe ebe man-marke Pau Kubasi and answer Ronald Royo on the form 1v1. Vinicius Junior will always be on Freddy Valverde and I said Vinicius Junior will always be on Jusconde say Crano. Ken Jusconde no play me who say about Ekwakusia doctors no. Cause the situation no so ya style be and the doctors for ne bet so obebo ni bia no entire stars obebo so obebo dia Vini will always be on him wama ebia or the Eric Garcia bebobo ho announce say ebia Ronald Royo there but whoever will play as the right back Vini will be on them. The person has changed. Pietro Subio Kent mama the first one I'm sanka samcho say Real Madrid a build up build up in a 3-2-5 3-2-5 nature say yes check game no na ye bar on paper you see Real Madrid play 4-3-3 yes I agree Nemo Madrid kuta ball Brony say they are doing build up na important in the other paper so 4-3-3 and now 4-2-3-1 no it's also Real Madrid build up say Alvaro Carreras no do you important ne say now because of now saying Vinicius Junior coach the man stay our line no so Alvaro and time overlapping bebre say the he will be cautious say commerce transitions be here into your television so this is Real Madrid and an air build up and of course they have their three back solid right back the pet and no free center or free side back for nimu open up space and in the final 10, Real Madrid will have 5 players. Now, this is where it is important. Kylian Mbappe. Makancho said, Onyo bia debia sa traditional namana ojina faku ni bia. He will always want to move. It is a Jude Bellingham ebo tenor. Now say ebe bo Jude Bellingham bebre. Because Jude Bellingham no, or no so he always want to be in the box. Because Madrid needs a presence in the box. So Jude say Otimi build it up in a 3-2-5. Jude any other gule and the closest players with Kylian Mbappe. That is if say Nyami Antomwa line up no obebo other gule on the right wing. Because I'm expecting a midfield three of Chouameni me pese Kamavinga bobo ni bi.
Chouameni ni Kamavinga.
Aye. Okay, it is quite some Madrid. Barcelona midfield the say obi aya we say Pedri. Okay, say no say Real Madrid a defender. Or no team be share defenders. We see he always fills in. Honestly, Madrid defending. Defending. Ukrawa can set pieces. One thing I'm for are not looking at. And yo, I mean, Masha Bakope. Masha Bakope. Here, catch last season, Barcelona share 102 goals in the league. I want to set pieces in 13. I say attack up Basa. Arsenal set pieces. Teams they are doing very well. Our set pieces we don't mention. When you say season way, Barcelona shot 24 goals in the league. 16 NA open play. 6 of them are set pieces. Oh, I'm telling Barcelona set 6. Last season was set 13. We're crying call baby. I was set 6. Let's just say we improve. Average say we check it, sir. In 2 set pieces, no kind of like I say, it is one of those things they need to guard against. But beyond set pieces, maybe a Chouameni wow one again. Honestly, I dear about what Chouameni yeah, Emma coach ne penalty say. Sir, Madrid they defend here. Back for obi move be a Chouameni go send the place. Sir, Ekonomi there he drops as a center back and Madrid defends in 5. And only the but that does not mean say Real Madrid midfield no. In fact, they understand Madrid probably so could be a Jambi Alonso. He understands to say Frankie the young Pedri there. Some boys name you know so more body beer. They will be dangerous. But Madrid are not going to have a midfield battle. What Madrid will plan for, they say, you're getting ball no need to circulate the ball. It just push the ball fast, move for ball and come fast. Get the ball quickly to the final 10 because somebody may give Vini one. Because now saying Vini or stay wide or pass the way when you're 1v1 situations. On your 1v1 situations, it is open up spaces for Kylian Mbappe. That is the plan. But for Barcelona, so okay. Say Madrid weak points. And now when I share Madrid now, let's go Madrid here. No, you see, the Madrid collapse against Atletico Madrid, you know. Me sure say emu baku kra no. Barca bet me ayebi. Because Atletico Madrid okoye crosses bebre their game because no Alexander Suluth. He was very physical with Real Madrid, especially in midfield. Omo physical. They are also yensa. Omo defender, they were defending a 5-3-2. Barcelona won't defend in a 5-3-2. Barcelona won't do crosses. Barcelona will not do physical game. It is only man yensa we jina so nyesho sa Barca besa. Name Barcelona were unique at Debia up to now. Any paper so and so de bia Barca de she. Okay. Barca game the way they are relaxed, proud to the game, during the game. Barca started say or share ebia started game no. Na Barca share 2 ah. Who him say Barca share first 2 goals. Real Madrid team no collapse. Barca Madrid share Barcelona 2 ah. They don't collapse. They are still relaxed. So psychological edge, you know. And when me feel say it's something now. Yeah, na minim game no I say Madrid for you overcharged to do. Because every single time, say game no crank go here, my boss, I said they have a belief say the game will still turn around. And only idea they need to guard against because honestly, last year 4 wins na Barca you know, what can individual battles, individual players, qualities are. Madrid no will be tell me yet Barcelona for sure. It's we can still be talking about individual players. Madrid will be name psychological edge, you know. So we now I don't know any problem because there will be times that Barcelona will dominate. There will be times that Madrid will also have its moments. Madrid moments now they need to take it. That's the most important thing. Afi, the last one is don't over rely on Lamine Yamal. Ken. You bet me a game no. Lamine Yamal wa mbɔ na Barca sha still no Lamine no sa could truly Real Madrid for. See, it could be say Lamine oh more no more attacking bebre because the more you put 2 players, 3 players around him, you are giving space to Fermin Lopez. You are giving space to Pedri. And now no Pedri shot being on both feet, you know. Lamine Yamal foul ball. He was surrounded by bad 3 Real Madrid players because they don't want him to score. And they allow spaces. You see, yes, I agree. Akurano ni wa bufu in some no you know. But many so you are leaving spaces for the other players to take over. I'm expecting more goals in this game. More goals. Okay. It's you know, but honestly, Madrid 4 with Kamuno Kre. Season way, game way, Madrid in Tinya Shabasa. Because clearly Barcelona were a lot of deficiencies. A lot of deficiencies. Oh, Olympiacos red card, they said. Even before the red card, it was 2-1. See, Olympiacos no more bad game with the contest about that game, no. Because they can't 6-1 on 1. How we be brewing, but if you know the context, you know, say, still no Barcelona were issues. Well, Ken. Okay. They tell us, man, you and you're careful. Oh, boss 7 games against one team. Now, or show 6 on 4 boom for about.
Brighton.
Sir Brighton for no. In fact, only boo back crowd in Manchester.
Never turning point.
Sir.
Oh, never turning point.
Ken, me who said Simpson Kitwano. Almost a bad dumping for no swat. Omu boo, omu cry. Make honestly,
Brighton, yes, United, Chelsea.
That's how I'm the for almost so left, right, center. Honestly, as I said, Manchester for no, it's me a year before this game.
7 matches, United lose to 6.
It's bad.
Against Brighton.
Come on. Ricky Munina, Brighton post to be obey Bia, a poster or secretary Manchester United. See, I think said that should be more motivational enough. Sunderland, the they met me can say, meaning perfect go form for both for Sunderland for Nebo. Chelsea should be very careful. Seems more premiership no more consider goes in Sunderland can who. Okay. See, they are in fact a game person who complacency in the Chelsea game because some of these games, you know, what my dreams so Sunderland they Sunderland they lose to 2. Man you for sure more. Man you for one can say because I give them one so much please. Chelsea should be more clinical. And then I expect to say, person who Maggie you continuing, man a chance because I think say Joao Pedro anybody change be brave, but Nancy form no about form. Either Joao Pedro plays as a number 10, Maggie you say number 9, or they should allow the player to build his confidence. I want to see that. Okay, I'm expecting a Chelsea win. Liverpool also, and you're careful. Brentford for no master of set pieces, master of long balls. Coach, and say, we're analyzing Liverpool. We say teams are bought over 570 long balls against them. Okay, our master is our Brentford for one. Our should be against Chelsea. Long ball, control, Kevin Shade, go. Our should be against Manchester United. Inti Adiana also on panel. Our master. Liverpool should stop complaining. And I know almost set pieces, and our opponents use to set pieces, baby. Also, I know against Frankfurt, say Liverpool they've set pieces. Now Liverpool set pieces in common. They've been quiet about it now because they are taking advantage. It's instead of their coach complaining, I think the right thing to do is to find solutions. Long balls, stop them from playing the long balls. In any more for they should start working. Because the more you complain, the more teams take advantage of it. Men pesa yebepo game they we no coach asanso about complaining long balls. Stop the long balls from the front. Liverpool are good to go.
Okay. You know say about the toss of the ball. Biggie.
Ken.
Found celebrate.
Ken, my mention say from the Italian Serie A. And now there was one game about so AC Milan. AC Milan yes started this season now. Lepadodo na and more that chance. I'm going to compete even for the trophy. Fortunately or unfortunately, the first game of the season was one Koye. But from there, I'm bouncing back. I'm find you rhythm. It will show how good they have played for some time now. No kwa share pizza there. A lot of people had that confidence. And AC Milan but unfortunately, AC Milan if you went to me and share pizza. I feel so dear about what AC Milan how almost set up on team and how they play. Can say, oh, but the 3-back system. Now, the signs of attack your opponent, over the highliner. You have to make sure that over central defenders are more defensive awareness. Also, but I feel that the defensive awareness of the AC Milan central defenders, Pavlovic, are there from. Almost sense of awareness, poor, and almost so lucky pace. It was one of the reasons in here now. So Emma, the second goaler, person I did take lead, and so a buyer AC Milan from. One thing I loved or enjoyed about AC Milan Bobo Kono, the new ruler coach, and the Amba player friend is Luka Modric. Can Luka Modric now you plays either as a central midfielder or an offensive midfielder. But they see AC Milan Bobo Kono, or not about the number 6, the pivot one, Edema AC Milan, or bought as a deep lying playmaker, or on the control games, Edema AC Milan. And with no disrespect to any other player this season, or not AC Milan best player, Italian Serie A, said you see control games, or see handling AC Milan, the passing range, and the movement, game, also to organize the midfield as an experienced player, clearly, actually that kind of golden jeweler, AC Milan Bobo Kono, and so now in the shape of a player, your friend said Luka Modric, and you Santiago Jimenez should be up and doing. So you're striker, a typical number 9. At the start of the season, not coaching and Casanya and Como. No prefer Rafael or any Christian Pulisic. Fortunately or unfortunately, Pulisic Ababa Bipra. It is the same coach in the UC. But again, for the past 7 matches, there haven't been any goal from the player. No assist from the player. A typical number 9 who leading the lines. And the other team to say AC Milan, especially when there were problems last season. Now by not starting off very well. It's a sad brand and a can home. And no blow here game in Kukuba in the second half. The performance was way better than striker friend Santiago Jimenez. Our non starting game, and AC Milan Bobo. Unfortunately, I went to me and the 3 maximum points. Last minute, and almost draw at Marken. And so I say can Edema Omo. Now on the part of Pisa, they who said working on the experience. They had a lot of experienced players in their squad. Raul Abio Munina no squad now. On also about the 3-back system. And on the Raul Abio and so Ejina Honum Ebo 40 years. 40 solid years. And on also our captain Caraccioli and so 35 years. You have Quadrado Bermu in the second half. Eba be share first goal. Eba Pisa Boboko Ken also at the age of 37. Also that's what them. And these players with experience and a Felipe leader and so more one son AC Milan be equalizer and Balanzola. Another experienced player from Angola. Oh, not so a genuine in the Italian Serie A, 29 years old. And these experienced players and a Jumandema Pisa. Unfortunately, and you're meant to be unconquered from AC Milan. But I believe, sir, in the subsequent games, those wrongs are Munya and coach and right. Now, Neman was a Eddie Amomo. There's another big game in Barcelona in the Serie A. Napoli, any Inter Milan, Bobo Kono, and Asia. So, Antonio Conte, Juma Waye. As a coach, countries our coach also. Even in Italy, Italian Serie A, no, and Juma Waye in Italian Serie A, waje. Clearly, what they need to do Christian Kivu one. Only in terms of experience, or also the Kivu be. That is for a fact. But then, who shall Inter Milan Bobo Kuna? Almost you want to Manche League in a CE. But in their recent matches, Omabo. Performance in the corner air costo. The last game they played in the Italian Serie A, Omuko AS Roma home Kokosha 1-0. In the Champions League, the last game they played, Omuko Belgium, Ekoshe Union Saint Genoa 4-0 away. Into the last 2 away matches, Oma Bono. Nini Omuko Koshe. Into there's that kind of confidence. M found this time around. Almost as Napoli home nominee Nakwakuchia. Napoli on the other part is coming from the backdrop of a poor performance, an extremely poor one. So Napoli be kwa Champions League against PSV. Near better the 6-2. It is psychologically. And man tell the man ko yem from Momo. Based on the last game of my boy, performance of my dynasty. Deficiency of Napoli Bobo on the field of play. Can Cassia pa ay on midfield. You need to Stanislav Lobotka and about the defensive midfield role Edema Napoli Bobo Kono. On the control the midfield, Edema Napoli. On the detecting the pace of the game and so on fin fi honum. But on ya available. And the coach any option bia. So be used to Billy Gilmore. Billy Gilmore since about Napoli in the performance na skyrocket a costo. But in the defensive midfield role, ultimate panel to Stanislav Lobotka, especially Inter Milan midfield na air battle. There is almost every player available. Almost every player. Available the man Inter Milan Bobo Kono. Eric Mkhitaryan mujinam, Hakancha Hanoglu mujinam, e won fin fi honum. And these are players on your Mokwa compete. It is a one now number 1 defensive midfielder. Now the Billy Gilmore ne Kwakwa. As a some Rantiana Akano is supporting a lot. Kevin De Bruyne, Scott McTominay, I was back to the party. And yes, Sadia. Inter Milan may take over the midfield. Almost take over midfield now. A better ding the Napoli so betting me about. No, baby do a game anymore. Anymore, also there's another problem. Romelu Lukaku dey him at the start of the season now onya available. But Napoli no more fortunate to be Rasmus Højlund. Obaye from Manchester United na nyama nkoyi. But Oba Napoli bobo ko nim no. Goals na o che bi mo league nim na o che Champions League na o che. There were nights mu ya den Napoli bobo ko nim be win 2 goals in point just no na che. But unfortunately on also so you doubtful. E ko ba sa pe e was almost falling on Lorenzo Luca. On also from Pisa, every team, no, any man contain for man, on prove so that kind of striker. In the absence of these strikers, so in this rather, in the absence of these strikers, on only bet to me a Jimmy Juma Diamana Napoli Bobo Kono. And these are the deficiencies that want Napoli Bobo Kono. Inter Milan problem are going into this game. Ayabako. Marcus Thuram ain't available. But Marcus Thuram ain't one and tell them a big of a problem because in his absence, both games no munya goals no. And Akolano no na baba be na 9. Anji Yuan Bosi. No so ejidam e partner eye Lautaro Martinez no. And ye me kon kind man. Ken, so we show Lautaro Martinez because he's a proven striker. This is our 3 goals e was Serie A mu. Ebia Anji nya big player, onya popular. Only 22 years and no last 3 days to 22. Promoted from the youth team. But Obabe Wuremu no in the league on also 3 goals. E 3 assists. From 7 games our ball in the Italian Serie A this season. And the funny aspect is 7 games and 2 pet and Aquadana started and Yama Inter Milan Bobo Kono. But look at goals and assists or Yama. And the ono Tokone da hono feeling here soon. Sadia will hear your opportunity to exhibit the kind of talent and quality or no Angie Yuan Bosi and also Ekita Edema Inter Milan Bobo Kono. Looking at all these parameters. Okay, Kabom now to TB Freeman. I feel that the deficiency in the Napoli team and the away performance of Inter Milan in their last 2 matches, Emma Inter Milan an edge over Napoli Bobo, a double chance for Inter Milan. Makodi possibly a 2-1 win. So I'm going to be picking the 3 maximum points in this encounter. Can Brentford need Liverpool? And one gamer, Ebianca, Unyang Somo Baba Bishia straight away. And also we are confident say Liverpool Bobo Koro, able to me picking the 3 maximum points. But before Liverpool go over Frankfurt, Aqua 5-1. Now Liverpool about 4 consecutive matches competitively. And Liverpool in team winning back. It's only casting a bit of dent on the performance and quality of the Liverpool team. On the other hand, Brentford Bobo calling to new team are wired that strong this season. It is very true. But these smaller clubs, some who share teams like Kessiena, they always want to prove a point. Almost person almost say. Almost also a quality of mobile media team because the Kobasa will share any news. But on only shower, on never make the headlines, on never control the airwaves just because we are until we say Liverpool, you're careful. And it's not a born home or they're stepping in the Premier League. It is true. So to be the Premier League now clearly. Who you coach our modern more so? And to between or no, any Kate Andrews there. And it's not Gina Brane. But Kate Andrews also pursue through history. On also pursue ye be the Brentford. Winning against Liverpool. And so the unknown to need the and the Nunti. Coach never prepare very well. So the best Liverpool Bobo. Liverpool in your careful. Coach Lomoko is a set piece expert. Ni duma again to the PMO team friend said Brentford and they said no be set piece coach or buy no and akwanya baba beda ho say head coach a free one adjoin Tottenham enti any adjuma no na fire e fa man any ready obetimi aye it is against Manchester United, against Chelsea, against Manchester City, not threatening these teams with the long balls aside eno o share team be obo possessive football and also nim say obetimi ahana obo 5 defenders nipa mako 5 and I don't actually. No about 3 midfielders, only 2 attackers. Against Manchester City, the same thing. Against Chelsea, the same thing. And to the clearly, meeting Liverpool and ne, or better numbers, baby, I will actually want them. Or better Liverpool, I'm not game, no, defend ye. Or far ball, no, the attack on the counter breaks. Or what counter breaks that he looks for one person in front. I got Thiago. Can this season? A brand ceremony more our body ama Brentford Bobo Kono has been good. 8 matches in the Premier League, wash 5 goals. It is a Mohamed Salah who go Ketike Cody Gakpo attackers some dangerous, some threatening. But also numbers this season, I got Thiago has been a better goal scorer than these players will Liverpool anymore. And certainly Liverpool defense should be careful. I am saying this because quite fast were thought that Van Dijk. They open spaces, they might attackers. About the family had to Liverpool Bobo Kono a problem. Against Manchester United it happened. Against Bournemouth it happened. Against Chelsea it happened. But Van Dijk in the thought that can. No, not some kind of ye be against Brentford, who open up so much spaces are. Shadi, any I got Thiago, attackers from moving to be a Liverpool Bobo Kono. Aside that, the deficiency in the Liverpool team, Mohamed Salah won't find the fit. The last time they played without Mohamed Salah starting, about 74 minutes and Salah album, Liverpool won the game against Frankfurt. It's the big question now when they say, Coach never saw Mohamed Salah the free one or the never seen China. That is the question people are asking. But I believe that the Premier League experience, anyhow good I am Mohamed Salah over the years, so what done and do a Premier League, you know, obeying your games like this to pick that kind of confidence. Our Lucy, now they are getting back to the best of form. Now the Mohamed Salah and Subeti. No matter what has happened in the Liverpool team in recent times, performance up and down. That is very true. But on any day, I still feel say Liverpool was our quality. No, they should be careful with Henderson. He's a former Liverpool player who would want to prove a point, who would want to do something against the club and answer the former club. Kaomi Kalaha, keeper, they are Brentford, and so a former Liverpool goalkeeper. And with these players in their folds, they are going to worry Liverpool. But we feel some more quality on which media have Brentford Bobo Koneken. Arsenal and Crystal Palace, league leaders. Why Arsenal since a Liverpool tough from normal one say Nyabi better than say Liverpool have say on home. And that's about catch him. It's the Arsenal baller all born and saying, "Hey, a baller a shame cry, a baller a wassail." Crystal Palace so you one team one. because of the 3-back system and defensive abilities. Ain't both teams are possessive football like a difficult to the mass teams, you know. So to me, I had to say a Crystal Palace. But then again, Oliver Glass then found this about now since about Premier League, you know. One of the coaches are on team, you know. And your coach a friend is Mikel Arteta. 3 meetings between these two managers. Arteta winning, you know. And about in a draw. Fortunately or unfortunately, the ending in a draw, no, it was last season. I was at home. A chunk of the players are available. Same quality, same coach. It is almost a Barcelona home. And the only team last season, they don't know, you know. I'm to me as a but with Eberechi Eze, this is the perfect game in the absence of Martin Odegaard overstepping up. A former club, Unimomo. O science or quality, our Arsenal Bobo couldn't want dynasty. I'm a who. Maybe I'm sure the Arsenal Kaka. A poor form of a year almost like a Victor Jokeres. Ken, before the Champions League game, in all competitions, no about 7 matches I want to mean she go, and to me as a stay. But hey, I know you see the game against Atletico Madrid as that rejuvenation game. That game of best answer they are sorry because Utiminia 2 goals against Atletico Madrid on a Champions League night, a big night. Certainly Utiminia against any form of team. And you saw no as the backbone. Eddie Jinaswa, Obetimia in this game. But we shouldn't doubt the qualities of the players of a Crystal Palace. Ismail Assar, one fine player this season in the Premier League. 6 games or 3 goals, 1 assist. Ewo Premier League ni Obejinem Yeremi Pino and Subejinem na fe Jean-Philippe Mateta and so Gina ni mu honom e di ama Crystal Palace Bobo no. It is going to be a very good game, a very difficult one for Arsenal. And for only form omo any performance on my dynasty so many league no any easy mfa ma omo. But I believe say me who Arsenal this season one put difficult game, defensive teams, but was squeezing the way through any results. And today is also going to be one of those days for Arsenal Bobo no.